Okay, let's just start with the belly. Drawing the belly in to bring the hands in and then pushing the belly out. The normal breathing would be breathing in here as you extend the spine, and then breathing out as you bow forwards. So a lightness rises through you as you breathe in here. And then like a heaviness falls through you. So this is like evaporation. And this is condensing and falling. So you're like a bellows. Here you're squeezing the air out, and here you're sucking it in. And then just switch into the reverse breathing. So breathing in now, and then out. So as you breathe in, your breathing diaphragm is dropping, your pelvic floor diaphragm is rising, and your belly is pulling in. Volume is really decreasing. There's a hell of a lot of pressure inside, and then you just release that and it will explode out on the out breath. And now let's just try splitting it into two halves, so just alternating. So just pulling in one side. So pulling in one side and then the other. So now this is just very muscular, so you don't really have the breath to help you. You need to breathe in with one lung as the other one breathes out, which is a bit difficult. So something pulls in, and out of that, something comes out. So the hand going out is always behind the hand that's coming in. The actual action, the real motor, is the pulling, the drawing. So we want to feel the motor as being this opening followed by a closing, rather than the turning. It's more in the opening and closing. So the turning is a consequence of the opening and closing. Okay, so let's just pause a sec. So if you were, for example, approaching, say you're going to pick up your phone. So my phone is there because I was using it as a timer. So if a scientist was to analyze that action of you going to pick up your phone, they'd see a body just moving towards the object, an arm reaching out, taking the object, lifting it off the floor and bringing it in. That is physically what is happening, but of course it's not really what's happening inside us. What's happening is I am sending out a stream of interest. Yeah, so it's like my eyes catch sight of the phone. Something in me finds that appealing enough to want to reach out. And my hand, and it's like that stream of interest is what compels me to move towards it. And my mind is already wrapping around it and grasping it before my hand has even reached it. So there's a sense of your greedy mind, if you like, your passionate mind, always being ahead of your body. We want to feel that. So when we study Tai Chi to start with, we're trying to make everything sort of dispassionate so that we have this quiet stillness inside and we have this sense of balance. But then we want to really impassion, to really wake up the heart and the passions and just feel how that animates the body, how that makes the body really powerful. So let's just try that exercise together. So the way it would express here in this exercise we've just been doing, so you're reaching out here. So what the feeling I want is that I reach out in order to grab something which I then bring in, like you're reaching out for an apple and picking it out of the bowl or off the tree and just bringing it in. So let's just try it again and just really feel this sort of stream of energy, this stream of interest that's coming out of you to wrap around that object in order to bring it in. And it's very different. The energy that streams out of you here with this hand is very different from what is brought in. Once you've grasped the thing and you have it in your hand, it's a different object. You have a very different relationship with it. So I reach out and I take it in. So something in me has to really intensify here. And then it slowly subsides as I know that I've been successful in bringing the thing in towards me. And then I can use a different energy to inspect it than I used to actually take it. So to take the object, I have to take a risk. I have to reach out of my space, grasp it, and then bring it in. So what I want to feel now is that action of grasping. So as I make the fist here, I want to make sure that as I clench here, I haven't already started pulling back with my waist. I'm still moving the shoulder forwards, because what I want to do is take that object gently. I don't want to snatch it. If I just get my fingers on it and then pull like this, I'll snatch it away. So as my hand starts curling up, effectively I'm becoming round, which means I'm shrinking a little bit. And so as I become round, I want to make sure the shoulder is still moving forwards until I've got the fist, and then I can bring it back. So I'm still turning to the right until so the action is imagine the apple is actually on the tree. It's actually hanging off the tree, and you wrap your hands around it and pull, and it doesn't come. It's a bit not quite ripe, so it's not going to come off the tree without a fight. And so as I wrap around it, the pull, the natural pull that I'm introducing is actually pulling me towards the apple rather than the apple towards me. And then I've got it, and then I can pull back. And just feeling the energy, the sort of the emotions that go into this very simple action. So I'm reaching forward, so I'm wrapping my hands around, but I haven't captured it until it's actually come off the tree. And to do that, I really have to get everything around it, and then it will release. So the way you'd practice this with the other person, we do like, in my classes, it like pushing hands, but pulling hands. So the person is pulling me towards them. And then I just go with that, wrap my hand around their wrist and pull them back. So until I know I've actually got that grip, I have to keep going with their pull, and then it will return. And you just feel it like it's a very natural response. So it's just yielding to a pull rather than yielding to a push. Someone's pulling my arm, and I just have to keep going with it until I know I've got their wrist, and then I can take it back. It's very important for getting into energy, just seeing not just the physical action, but the passions that are behind it, the energy, the spirit, the desire that's behind what you're doing. And then it will build more of that. It will build more passion, more power, more spirit. If you just keep everything flat and factual, it won't really go anywhere. You'll just end up having a beautiful form that's got no energy. Okay, so let's stand up now. Okay, so let's start riding horse. Have to start somewhere. So let's just breathe. Exactly the same as we did when we were sitting down, but of course now we've got the legs to contend with. So we want the sense that the legs are just doing what the arms are doing. So here my hands are pulling in towards my belly and my feet are trying to do the same thing. So even though the legs are having to support me, hold me up, they're also trying to pull me down. So here my legs are just drawing me down. And then here they can spring me back up. So here I'm pulling myself down, like loading the spring. And then here, this is just the spring expressing itself, releasing its energy. Here I'm storing energy. And then I'm releasing it. We want to get just the legs just very active on the down. And then the up is just a consequence of the down, really. It's just the energy coming out that was stored. So, but this is the important bit. This is the gathering. And then this is just a release. So breathing in on the way down, really gathering everything in, and then breathing out here. Just like if you were doing squats, you breathe in as the muscle loads, and then you breathe out as you fire the muscle. Yeah, now let's just try it just one at a time, like we did when we were sitting down. So I'm pulling in here. This goes out. I'm pulling in here. This goes out. So as it goes out, the fingers extend, and so do the toes. And then here, curling up the fingers, curling up the toes, rounding out the arm, rounding out the leg. So my elbow becomes prominent and my knee becomes prominent in the leg. So as you go out, just feel the little finger and the little toe especially trying to extend. So they're a bit like the tailbone. You know, they're inconspicuous, so they can sneak. So what we're wanting to look at is just really just trying not to turn. I mean, we are turning, but I want the turn to come from this action of grabbing. And of course, it's going to happen because I'm not grabbing anything actually with my hand, but I am with the foot. It's the foot curling up on the ground that's actually pulling me round like this. This is what I want to feel. So it's not something that I'm doing here. It's all coming from the action of the foot, that real effort that you make to pull the apple off the tree. So here, and then I will start turning with it. So to start with, it's turning me towards it. I'm still turning this way effectively, even though my foot is really catching the ground. And then the waist will just go back the other way. turning the body from this action of the foot on the ground, this act of grabbing, clenching. And in order to grab and clench, you really have to extend the fingers and the toes. Otherwise, the hand and the foot just isn't open enough to get a decent enough quantity to actually effectuate a turn. So it's hungry, it's greedy. You're just pulling the world into yourself all the time. And it's that that's making you move. A bit like climbing a rope. You're pulling the rope down into yourself and you are going up the rope. Make sure you get the knee. So as this foot clenches, so it effectively sort of turns this way. So you see, as I turn this way with my arm, my elbow is going out. The same feeling in the foot here. So the foot clenches like this on the ground, and that will actually send this knee out. And it's that really that brings me round. Part of riding horse that people find difficult. So let's just go back to riding horse. So the feeling here that your toes, your feet are sort of angled in a little bit, so that the feet are trying to sort of do this. The feet are trying to grab the ground, not push you up from it. This is the mistake that people make. So the feet are trying to pull you down to the ground. And so that would require this action. But my knees need to go out because my legs have to bend in order to go down. Now, I don't want my knees to come in like that. It's obviously weak. And you're just pushing the ground like this. So that becomes a push. And so I've got to keep the knees out, but actually feel as though I'm bringing the toes around. And it's that gives riding horse its distinctive look and its distinctive energy, this feeling that you're hungry for the ground, you want to get down there. So this balance between this passionate, greedy desire to go down and this other curiosity, really, this sort of inquisitiveness that just wants to come out and explore the world. It doesn't want to stay stuck here. It wants to wander around. So you're containing yourself by pulling yourself down. But within that, there's this other creature that's wanting to wander around. So you're very much two things. It's not pushing up because your legs are hurting. It's not this sort of complaint, this thing of, oh God, it's difficult, oh, my legs are hurting. You really have to feel as though there's part of you that just wants to get really down. And so it opens up across the back And it's a part of you that's wanting to sort of settle onto all fours. So it's very much an animal. So the spine is wanting to become horizontal from this part of you that's grabbing the ground and wanting to go down. The same way when you go down into a squat, you lean forwards. And this other creature that's coming up, that's sort of within that, that's what's bringing your sacrum in. So it's a real posture of conflict. There's all these little tussles going on within it, and it's that gives it energy. My feet feel like this is wanting to happen, but my knees are trying to do this. So the action of the knees really is making the thymus dominant. So it's bringing energy up, this little bit of fire into the upper heart. And the feet doing this are just bringing everything into my belly. It's like I'm feeding also the lower heart and the belly. And it's difficult because, you know, there's such torque in the lower leg, in the shins, from the knees going one way and the toes going the other. So what we want to just try and feel is it's this action. It's the toes really, the big animal that's feeding, that allows the sacroiliacs just to release, so that the sacrum has a feeling that it's sort of just hanging loosely. So I really have to have the ground, and I really need to be in the outside edges. So it's like all my strength is in the outside edges coming up into the sides of the hips here, and then the inside of the hip where they join the sacrum could just be very soft and gentle like the inside of the leg. And then the sacrum just has this feeling that it's just hanging. And that's an aspect of this, of the thymus really, the upper heart. So just feeling ourselves as this central torso. So the spine really ending at the coccyx down here. So the coccyx, the sacrum, the lumbar spine, the thoracic spine, the cervical spine, and the cranium. And remember the little snake's head that rears up, that's the equivalent to the coccyx. So we have that's just one. We know we've got one of those, and that's just hanging down quietly and peacefully. And it has these two sides, these two things attached either side. So it has my extremities, my legs and my arms here and here. And you can think of your eyes and your ears as being like the limbs of the head center. And so these are what's responsible for letting us interact materially with the world. So my feet my legs will move me around. My hands will reach out and bring things in. And the sense organs here enable me to communicate, to exchange communicatively with my world. But this column, it's like a radiant being. This is your divine being, really, that's connecting heaven and earth. So man as plant or tree. So I just want to feel that, just being very sort of just peaceful and serene. And it's got these two hefty animals on either side, like you're walking along with like Max. He's got these two massive Rottweilers, and he's just sauntering along in this parka that Ty was curious as to how much it cost him. So she looked it up on the internet. It was £1,600 just for this article of clothing. And so he's just walking down the street and he's got a Rottweiler either side, not on a leash. So it's a bit like that. It's a bit like you're just walking serenely, fearless and open, because you have these two capable creatures either side of you, which is just this side, my arms and legs, this side, my arms and legs. So we have to stop thinking of ourselves as two, as a left side and a right side. We're very much this thing in the middle, which is really me, with a thing added on here and a thing added on here. And it's just a different way of just seeing yourself. I think of them as like two lieutenants, like two companions. You're walking along, you're the boss, and you've got these two helpers either side. So it's only through these helpers that I can interact with the world. So I operate upon the world with my left and my right sides, but the world operates upon me. So God operates upon me, heaven and earth, nature operate upon me through here. Different levels of relationality, really. So you're standing and you're allowing the earth to operate upon you. So you're allowing yourself to be drawn down. And you feel that especially in the sacrum and the tailbone. Almost like all of your weight is slowly melting down into the tip of the tailbone. And then the sky is operating upon you by just drawing your spirits up. So there's a sense that the vastness of the sky, it's nice here because I'm sort of 3 floors up and it's just got an amazing view. So so when I'm in this room, there's always a sense of the sky, even though there's some noisy people above me. Going for a walk in nature, it's probably the best thing you can do health-wise. Walking a dog, it's great walking a dog because you're doing it for the dog. You're not going from A to B. You're just walking. It's like pure walking. And so just feeling the sky just opening up and drawing something up out of you. So that's the world operating upon you. So we're so used to operating upon the world ourselves that we're not aware of the fact that, we are an object that's being used by higher forces. So that's what we just want to get some appreciation of. So for the Taoists, you are being operated upon by the earth and by heaven. And it's I learned recently that when the Chinese say heaven and earth, they mean nature. So heaven and earth is really just everything of the natural world that's operating upon you. And they are being operated upon by the Tao. And so you are being operated upon by the Tao through heaven and earth. And just feeling that, those levels. Okay, now let's just try. So just moving, doing what we were doing basically, but now not quite so muscularly and sort of passionately. So I just want to turn myself this way by using the foot. So I want to twist my foot this way in order to draw myself round this way. It's exactly what we were doing really, but now we're just doing one side and just really looking at it. So my toes are trying to twist round here. My knee is going out the other way, and it's my knee really that draws me round. And then I just press the ground and twist the foot this way to roll myself back. So people find this difficult because whenever they use their legs, they tend to be coming out of them. So this is really the difficult bit, because I have to stay in the leg as I twist, because it's wanting to push me into this leg. And I don't want that. I want to keep my sinking going down this leg, but just use the action of the foot on the ground to turn me or roll me. And I want to feel the energy. Now, it's easier to feel the energy when we twist out of the foot. So here. So you feel like something sort of expressing itself through the body. And the fact that I have the discipline to keep myself in the foot means that the energy comes through me instead of moving me out of the foot. So there's this stream coming up and out. And then I twist the other way, and I want to feel that just reeling that back in. So something is being drawn down the leg now. And then here I twist the foot. What makes it difficult really is it's so easy to cheat. So you really have to be your own critic. The twist of the foot this way is very much connected to this, the contraction here. So you can feel it as simply just being this contraction in this side of the belly. Here, this is a bit like trying to escape. Something is squeezing up through you and out, and then here, this is just drawing you back down. You have to be with the heavy sacrum. You know, there's a lot of forces here, so it will tend to make the sacrum move around a bit. We just want the feeling it's simply turning. Okay, so let's just bring it back to riding horse, and then we'll do the other leg. So you're a martial artist, you know, we're learning to fight, we're learning to activate the spirit. And you know, when you see like a good martial artist, they're like the opposite of those MMA fighters, you know, that are all brag. You know, they're just quiet, they're settled, they're normally quite humble. They just don't have any time or energy for shit, you know, because they never know when they might have to engage their next opponent. So there's a sense of just being inside, ready. So this is the feeling that we want in riding horse. So we're drawn in, but we're ready to explode out at any moment. So I need that pull, that draw, in order to keep the spring that will fire out active, to keep that on a hair trigger. Okay, now let's try just doing the same thing we were doing with this leg, but now with this foot. So I just twist the foot round and it just rolls me this way. And then I twist the toes this way and it will roll me out. Just look at it, just really see what's happening and how it's making you feel. That's the most important thing, really. So we want to look at the mechanics of what's happening, but also the emotions that it is producing inside me. So how do I relate differently to that piece of ground when I pull at it as when I push it? Try and make sure you don't come out of the leg when you push the ground. So here I have to really try and keep sinking in the leg. So there's a sense when you push the ground that your heel is just inserting, it's going into the ground. So a bit like the hypodermic. So here I'm pushing the needle into the ground through my heel. And then here I'm sucking the energy out of the ground up through that needle. Now it's going a little bit deeper. So as it gets deeper and deeper, there's different things come up. It's different levels, different layers. They're having a real sing-song downstairs in the synagogue. It's nice hearing people happy. They're just like little kids, really. Those Orthodox guys. So the sacrum is just hanging. And then you've got this really hefty, muscular side and another one here. So the spine is just very delicate and extended. So it's a little bit of space between each vertebra. So that has like a real lightness to it. But these two sides are just really hefty, muscular, meaty. The sense of these two wings coming out of your pelvis, either side of your sacrum. Another big two wings coming out of your shoulder blades, wrapping around you with your arms. And another two wings here. So there's a sense that you're sinking, which in one sense is a release to gravity, but in another sense is a really active pull down to the ground from you, is squeezing these wings out of you and allowing them to appear. So when you're in normal, non-impassioned mode, then they'll just have sucked back in. So what we want to feel is just how, as soon as we become distracted with our own thoughts, the energy subsides, the intensity deflates. So when the mind stops and becomes quiet, there are no choices anymore. So in other words, free will has been relinquished. But then what happens is you feel the draw of destiny. So you feel yourself being pulled into a life. And with that, of course, comes responsibility, which is why, we're just terrified of that. That's why I would never ask John his advice about anything, because I'd always be terrified by what he might say. Because I knew that once he said it, I couldn't ignore it. I'd have to do it. I'd have to go along with it. So that's the thing of destiny. It's like there's just something calling your energy to wake up and just engage. And then it would just it all tumbles out. Doesn't mean you have a happy life. Probably a lot less happy in a way. But it just means there's some sort of bite, some sort of fight. Life is a battle, but a joyful battle, rather than a happy one. Or this sense that, happiness and contentment is not something that befalls you. It's something you create. So you create your own happiness. This is what the religious Jews, your first responsibility before God is to be happy. Because, he doesn't really want to sort of engage with miserable people. He wants you at your best, not moaning and complaining. So let's draw it up. And now just draw it up in two pieces. So bring one foot in and then bring this foot in. Straightening the legs without. So I want the straightening of the legs to be really bringing my sacrum down through the back of them and into the heels. tension posture is really just you having just drawn in. You've drawn in your animal. But it's like something in you just can't wait to get back into riding horse and start the next session. So there's something about the work that just makes you feel more alive. This is the thing about John. I mean, that's what you learn from John, if anything. That's his thing, is just being alive. And so whenever you were in his company, you just felt charged up and alive. And so we honor that memory by learning to do it ourselves within our own practice session. So when you're practicing, there's a sense that, you know, your loved ones wouldn't know you. They wouldn't know you like that because they know a completely different you.